Hey, it's Lupins and I'm the miniature painting coach. So welcome to my personal improvement vlog where I work on my own painting skills and keep myself ahead so I know what the hell I'm talking about or what I'm doing. Skills need to be maintained. Alright, so we're painting my Bretonnian Sorceress right here, and because Terry, you asked about how is my painting set up, or rather how is my video taking set up, so I'll show you how I do it. So I am actually carrying a smartphone. This is a smartphone I have, and you guys can just kind of see that this is an actual smartphone. This is the smartphone that I use personally. Now I'm just kind of using this as an off camera, and it's a I believe it's a Galaxy S9 Plus. I can't remember. And the phone I have over here is a S20 Ultra, which I bought just so that I could make these videos and I could use this technique of filming. See, because what I do is that over here there's the screen over here where you can kind of see me paint, right? And I literally do my painting like this, where I look through this viewfinder, so that for two reasons. The first off is that I don't spoil my eyes in the long run, so that I have something I can just see through and paint by zooming in. Because I can just kind of like go through here and I can zoom in and zoom out, right? So it makes it really useful to kind of look at small details. And so that's the first part. The second part is, and the reason why I'm comfortable with doing this is because I used to do digital painting. I'm in illustration and I'm used to both traditional and digital means. So having a camera in front of me while I paint is not all that like weird. Alright, okay, so the second one is that why am I using a smartphone? But because one thing I've noticed, that what people were commenting in watching other people painting videos, is that they couldn't really see the model, and because the definition or the fidelity of the video is too low, in that when they get really zoomed in on the miniature, like it's kind of hard to look at stuff, because how can the painter paint with like a big camera like stuck in front of the face? They can do that. So what they do is they put the camera to the side, but the problem is that as a viewer you don't really see what the painter sees, so that you kind of know why he's painting in that way. Does that make sense? So like one of the good things about like why painting in real life and sharing how you paint in real life is so great is because you can just kind of show, hey, I'm doing this like this, and then I look over here in this particular spot, and like somebody can show you with the actual brush. But you can actually do that with a video online if you have a gigantic camera in front of your face, whether it's one of those camcorders or those kind of big video recorders, because then you need the lens for that, and it creates more distance. So nobody is realistically going to be like have a camera over here and then you have the lens in front of here, and then after that you have like the miniature so far beyond over here, and they paint something that's tiny. Nobody does that. So I actually have spoken to some YouTubers and did a bit of research myself to kind of figure out if there were ways like around that, and like no, like that. So the best, like I think Vincent Venturella told me that he has a monitor like in front of him, so he has the camera off to the side, and like that's how he paints. And like it's just no secret, like most people just kind of put their camera in like off to the side or at the top. Now before I rattle on even more, that's just generally how I choose to do my presentation. And I know it's weird for a lot of people, but I do like the fact that people get to see what I'm looking at, like in first person view. And it's so important that when you're learning how to do techniques, or you're just kind of copying, or just kind of like just hoping to catch something on from what another miniature painter might be doing, is that in video format, and because of smartphones, we actually have the technology to kind of show, how we can paint our miniatures right at where we're looking at. Right, so I can be pointing right here on the face, and I can even show like her flaws. Like I don't like that eye that she has on the left. Like look at that, it's an ugly eye. Like I don't have her whites in place, things like that. And it's only something I can show because I can zoom in this close with a camera that has the capability of doing that while I'm painting through this this viewfinder or this screen, right? Okay, so Well, anyways, we've spent the 5 minutes kind of talking about all that. Let's get around to painting, which is something I actually want to do. Now, okay, so before we touch up an eye, you can see there's a line across it, right? And over here, it's a little bit too blurred out, but it's not allowing that white to really show up on the miniature. And so the last time we were kind of smoothing down this sleeve, and we can kind of see how after that magenta dried up, after that magenta dried up on that white, it's essentially made it kind of gleam from yellow to like magenta, which I like. I might still keep most of it pretty rough, like I tend not to like to have the overall miniature really smooth. I tend to have my focus point more smooth, so we are going to add a little bit more still over here, that and it goes further as we go down the line, right? So this is something that I learned during my cross hatching days when I was learning how to do inks and pencil drawing as a kid, where it was a much more simplified form of comic. And I really like to have loose drawings and paintings because it's just really expressive, and you can kind of feel movement that you don't really have if you have the whole painting or otherwise done, well, I mean, like smoothly. I mean, like maybe some people enjoy that. I don't. I tend to like my miniatures to be a little bit more on the expressive side. So it's more a matter right now just to bind everything together while still keeping the expressiveness underneath in terms of the strokes, like really tiny changes underneath. Okay, so we just kind of go at it like this. And I was thinking that once I'm done with this miniature, I'll hand it over to Painters Motivating Painters, which is a Facebook group event that Vincent Venturella has kind of put up together, so people can have a way to improve their miniatures by having he tends to show it on his YouTube channel, and then people get critique, and it's a really nice way for people to just kind of have small little improvements from a judge that's willing to share his time showing other people what they could do to improve. Okay, now I'm losing a little bit of my teal there, so I need to bring back my teal. Okay, just a really small batch will do. Oops. And whoa, I need to be extra careful of that, the medium not being placed right. So my paint, that wet palette might dry up. Okay, just a teeny little bit, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to go evenly about this place, about really evenly. Okay, and then I'm going to take my inks, push this away, make sure that we have the right color temperature on the screen, and then kind of move it on like this. So you can see there's a nice little color change. We're gonna also take a little bit more teal. We're gonna pop it all like this, and notice that teal gets really strong over this red because they're contrasting colors. And we're just kind of desaturating the sleeve a little bit. Right. I was hoping to kind of move over to the chest in this episode, so I'll just kind of do this real quick, and then I'll work on the chest. We can always come back here later to fix things up. It's kind of how I like to do my painting. I don't like to spend too much time on where my interests don't lie, so I can just kind of like keep myself paying attention while I'm painting. And we're gonna add a little bit of magenta, just making sure we have some magenta to work with. We'll plop it right here. Okay, and then we'll take some medium. We just kind of blend that through, so we get tiny little annotations from that. Okay, and then we will take a little bit of magenta, and then we'll bring back this part. Okay, just a bit over that yellow or yellowy part. It's not exactly yellow. Pop it down here into the teal and up to the sleeve. So we can see that there's a nice little transition that we have there, made out of many gray colors, and I do love my grays. And we're going to make sure to even it out a little bit so that highlight is not too dense, or rather too little on this part. We don't need it even because cloth is never all that even, but we're just kind of going at it really softly, going at it upwards, softly. And notice now we have this nice little streak. Just kind of go at it like this. And then we'll also add a little bit of teal at the top here, just for that nice annotation, right? And then we'll add a yellow over here so that we can pump out that green, and then we'll kind of smoothen it out like so. Okay, you notice how that green, you kind of move it down. It's kind of like having a partner in dancing. You're just kind of going at it really slowly. Doop doop doop. Doop doop doop. Here we go. Okay, now you can see that we have most of our tonal changes like so, and we need to kind of make sure we get a little bit more of our transitions right at the bottom, because it's still too harsh. So we're gonna pop it on like this, right? And then we're going to go over it with medium, like how we normally do. Just tiny little stippling effects, just kind of go slowly going up so that we can reduce that highlight. And then we add just a teeny little bit of the teal at the bottom, and then we just like this, in tiny little dots, right? And then we're going at it really slowly, really slowly. We add more medium over here. We kind of go at it through the back, go at it through the top, right? Ooh, I have an ant on my tray. That's interesting. Okay, so now over here we want to make sure to bring that magenta because we see not smooth color changes. Okay, we do want to keep that expressive effect, but we don't need it to kind of all run the place. Okay, so slowly, really slowly. A bit more magenta up here. An ant on me. I don't know why. Must be the rainy season that's going on in Malaysia right now. Okay, so you can see that we have that red sleeve, and we have tiny little hints of that teal that's kind of bouncing off, and that's the kind of color gradient that we want to kind of move upwards and outwards. Okay, so we are still going to add just a little bit of teal at this part where it's a little bit red, like so, and then go it up like this, softly, really softly. Okay, where it's kind of like going smooth, a little bit more on the inside, really a little bit more. Okay, and then you can see that there's this nice little thing that's going on here. My brush is getting like angry at me. So why are you like popping my head all over the miniature? Huh? Okay, so we're just kind of moving it like this, and we're blending this highlight through, right? You can see that it's a lot more smoother. We won't worry on this side of the sleeve yet, because you can see that there's a mess. It's like dots and stuff like that. That part is a lot more easier to handle later on, particularly because we actually just need to freehand the shape and darken it out, because there's no way that this is supposed to be completely like not like flat. So that's the problem with the sculpture. Okay, so we've kind of go at it in this way and kind of have our darks. Now the darks is not as faithful as I would like it to be. It's not as dark as it should be, I feel. So I'm going to take a little bit of black, just a little bit, because darks are not supposed to be real black. And then we're gonna go in there and plop it like this, upwards, because we are kind of like desaturating the parts just a little bit of this dark area so that we get our lights and shadows properly done. Slowly. Okay. And then we smooth it out, and we can see from over here that it's still visible and then it's going to dark, right? And from the top, we can see that it's mostly dark. Now, we want to make sure that we have the color, right? So we're gonna look at it like this to make sure that we can see the light and color changes are changing appropriately. Now, we need to also add a little bit more color over here, particularly to do with a bit of yellow. This is too much. Take a bit more, and then a bit of teal, and then with this much, right, we're gonna actually lay on the side like this. And that's actually more than enough. We're also going to lay a little bit right here later on, so we can save this paint. Whoop, 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 whoop. Okay, there we go. And then we're gonna do the same thing that we've always done. Gonna take out medium, plop it on here, plop it on here, let it kind of simmer. Remove some of our medium because it's a bit too much. Whoop. And then we're gonna stroke it in gently and do tiny little drawing. So you're going to zoom in so you guys can kind of see a little bit more clear. So you can see those. You're gonna zoom in like this and do it out. Do it out. Peel it out. Peel it upwards now. Okay, so you can see that there's a bit of the shadow side over there. That doesn't make any sense. Right? So we're just gonna pop it like this. Go over here. Okay, I'm gonna continue building that up. Right? Can see how that builds up just nice. Pop, 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 pop. Okay, there we go. That's just nicely built up. And we're gonna pop in here. Oh, my cat's at the door. I'll be right back. She wants to come in my room. Whoa, look at who joined me. I'm sorry, I took this camera aside for a moment and it's like, surprise you guys. Hey! Look at it. It's Pachi, the cat. Oh, awesome Pachi. Well, she wants to be on my lap. And I think I have to kind of get used to that because she's starting to develop the habit after I started doing these videos that she'll just kind of like want some attention and maybe even fall asleep on my legs. So let's just kind of go back to it. Oh my god, this is zoomed in way too much. So just kind of go at it. Let's see, what were we doing? We're working on that, adding that green in there into this tiny little part because it was missing color before, and we are going to blend it in. Oh, we'll sleep later. I gotta do this video. Oh, my cat's kind of left my feet because she wants to go to bed instead. Oh, not anymore. You guys can't quite see it, but she's kind of haunting me underneath my feet now. Okay, so let's just kind of put this paint in here. We're gonna go at it like how we normally do, real slow. And we're gonna take that magenta. Pachi, okay? Put the magenta down here. And then we'll slowly go it in like so. Slowly. Slowly. And then we are going to make it so that that yellow is going to be placed in a pop. So it seems like a lot. Not really. I'm gonna add some medium there. Blend it into that sleeve. Okay. Now we're gonna remove that like this. That medium. And I'm gonna pave the colors together. Because again, this medium that I'm using is a retarder. So it basically brings it stops the drying process of paint. So if the paint underneath has not been placed that long and our greens weren't placed there for too long, it brings it back to life because it makes it wet again. It reactivates it, rather, that's the right word. So we're gonna take a bit more of our teal and then plop it right here. I mean, we just need that one plop, right? And then we are going to, there's already medium on it, so we're just adding a bit more to our brush, and then oops, oh, there's way too much, and that's okay. Well, what we can do is just take a piece of tissue, right? You will just kind of like scribble it so it becomes a pointy little thing, and then we just kind of dab it in there, like so. Oops, right? So, and kind of avoid that paint from being too thin and wet like the last time. We'll just kind of fix it by smoothing it out. Okay, so these are kind of like the challenges that I get because I am painting through a camera. So me kind of looking through the camera like here and kind of going like this, like it feels like I'm just kind of like remotely controlling my hands, which is pretty interesting. Okay, let's kind of zoom out a little bit because we don't need to be all that close now. Kind of add just a teeny little bit of that paint, a bit more, and then we're gonna go at it again, like this. Now, isn't that messy? Yeah, that's fine. We're kind of pulling it over the shadow area so we have a connection over here, because we want to blend that teal, that green rather, over that magenta so we can have that nice shadow that we have. There's gonna be a little bit of a nice shadow underneath there. We want that. Okay, we need to put our yellow and our teal, and we want to make sure to catch this area here like this. Softly, brightly, softly, brightly. Make sure to make that shape. Bind it through here. Go at the bottom here. Bind it, and so now we are kind of doing those subtle highlights on this place that's really tiny. I'm gonna take out medium. So we're gonna, oops, oh, whoa. Should probably zoom out a little bit. Oh, there we go. Yep, there we go. Okay, just kind of do it like this. Okay, let's continue doing that. Softly, slowly, subtly. Okay, and we're gonna add a bit of our skin with that orange that we mixed. Put it right here. Okay, we're gonna make sure to add that teal like this. Right, then we're going to make sure we add a little bit more over here to make sure to bind that sleeve over in our mixed highlight. It's just nice and soft, getting a soft gradient, changing the way we paint, right? Just making sure we get that nice gradient. So making sure we add that skin color now, and then diluting it so that we can go at it even softer. Go at it even softer. Even softer. And then now we're gonna cover this part ever so slightly so we can get connection. Right? And we can see that, oh, now we have that sleeve for the most part. We're gonna actually let that dry, and we're gonna make sure to smoothen down our blends through that that part of her rib, because we want to make sure to get that that color change rightly so. Oops, cat fur. It's almost everywhere. Just kind of go at it like this, softly. Go like this. Okay. Keep going at it like so. Some really soft skin tones. And right here. over here. We can see that the highlights are taking shape. Now we're gonna continue with our teal, kind of blend it in very softly. Okay. 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 And we're gonna make sure to make this shape at ease. All right. Now let's continue going on about here. Okay. Get it really softly. Really softly. Continuing on where we were. Kind of blend this yellow together. And you do want to add a little bit more yellow over here into the light. It goes. So we have this nice little shape for our gradient changes, which will add more of. In it goes. In it goes. So we do have this kind of like soft change because we don't need the green to be that dense. We only need to be dense at very specific spots for it to stand out. Like for example here, you're gonna smooth it out like so, out and under the belly. So we are going to make some tiny little changes of that clothing. So we're gonna make sure we draw out that clothing a little bit. It's okay to have those sharp lines over here as well. Over here as well. Okay. Okay. There we go. And we want to add a little bit more. We'll put it in here, underneath the sleeve, ever so slightly. Ever so slightly. Like this. And nice. And it's like, okay, now we have that. And let me see, where else can we work on? Oh, I do want to add a little bit of green, or rather we should put some primary cyan over here instead. Oh, airplane. We get that in our neighborhood. I'm so sorry for that, guys. So we kind of put that blue over here, and then we'll kind of blend it up and out. Okay, slowly. So, oh, the plane's gone. So imagine during World War II, like how scared people would get from hearing an airplane overhead. Except I imagine that the sound would be pretty different compared to how it is right now, especially for anybody in the world at the time. Okay, because of bombing and stuff like that. War sucks. Okay, so we're gonna blend this into the light. At the top here. Alright, just gonna ease that into the clothing. And we're of course gonna add just a little bit of yellow to kind of show that there's a nice little change here, and that's way more than enough. This is really good. Add a bit of medium. Pop it on like this. And squeeze in that thin little bit of green. Make sure to get rid of that part that is too green. Like so, like this, skin color. I'm gonna add that highlight line, like so. And we're actually freehanding that line at this point. I suddenly went really quiet. Okay. We are gonna flow it like this. Dum dum dum. And we can see that there's that nice little change. So what we're gonna do is that we're gonna continue taking our skin color. We're gonna pop it on here. Watch it kind of make that shape of that boob. Hey. Okay, so now when we go at it like this, now that breast looks more realistic. I mean, it's not like it should be like completely round. Women's breasts don't actually they're not like completely round, they sack a little. So when you look at the shape like this, we can kind of see how that actually is. So we want to make sure that we get the highlight properly, right? Okay, so and it's appropriate, yep. So okay, where else would we want to work on before we close the video? We want to make sure that we plan for our next session. And okay, so the sleeve is for the most part done. It's kind of on the brown side. I may up the saturation a little bit for the bottom side, I'm not sure yet. You can see there's something here that's kind of like black where it leaked off as we just kind of like rotated our model to paint other parts. We can fix that later. And then we can go, like before I go ahead and do the patterns, I want to make sure I get this whole torso area done. So we'll probably focus on the torso area a lot more. Maybe lighten up that part underneath the armpit. And okay, well, let's end today's session. So I remind everybody, learn from others to be yourself. All right. So take care. Toodaloo.